I would like to notify that this video is full of heavy spoilers. It is more like an analysis of the movie than a review. Also, I would like to say that I don't really think this movie is necessarily bad, it's just not as good as everyone says it to be. Let's talk about the characters first. The Batman himself, in my opinion, is very good. I like his kind of gloomy image in this movie. This emo vibe suits him because we all know that Batman is a broken character. He fights for the justice in this dark city, not because he once decided to, but because the city broke him too, and he wants revenge. That's why he goes around and calls himself Vengeance. I also like that Batman wasn't invincible here. They clearly showed that at the start of the movie in the fight with the street gang. You can see that he gets hit multiple times, but because of his superior suit and great fighting skills, Batman wins the fight. This portrays that Batman is really just a human. They also tried to do this later in the movie, but then it fell apart. About that later. Batman is really smart, but he lacks compassion skills. You can see this in his interactions with other characters, especially Catwoman. He is ruthless, angry and stubborn. In his inner monologue, if he can do something, Batman says that he just has to push himself harder. Batman actually is just a few steps away from becoming a criminal himself. In my opinion, all this suits Batman perfectly, because if you think about it, all the Batman did in his life was fighting criminals and tinkering with his high-tech stuff. He is introvert at heart and doesn't like interact with lots of people. The Catwoman is also a pretty good character. I like her backstory about being the daughter of Falcone. She is somewhat similar to Batman because she also seeks for revenge in the city. After her friend is killed, it really pushes her over the edge to go and kill her father, who is responsible for all the hardships in her life. But Catwoman is not really like Batman. Her fight is not eternal. At the end of the movie, she wants to leave all this behind and start a new life. Batman, of course, doesn't do this because the city needs him, in his opinion. Bad guys are the ones where the movie kind of starts to fall apart. I think that the Falcone was the best of them. He had this godfather vibe around him. He was this all-knowing wise guy who runs the city behind the scenes. I didn't like Penguin's role in this movie. There were too much attention focused on him, although he really wasn't that important here. Also, all the chase scene was wasted on him because the scene was very cool, but it was kind of for nothing. All of the Penguin's character is just being some average goon, and it's fine by itself. There was just too much attention focused on him. He also doesn't need to be on the movie poster. He's nobody in this movie. There are good points and bad points about the main villain Riddler. I start with the good. His personality was actually realistic for a psychopath. His scene at the prison with Batman was really good. I like that the movie explores here that the Batman is not like other orphans. Although his backstory is really sad, he never lived in poor conditions like other orphans have to endure. Riddler knows this and accuses Batman of this, but Batman doesn't bend to Riddler's pressure, and at the end of conversation says that they are nothing alike. This doesn't go according to Riddler's plan, when he breaks his smartass character and is having an episode in the cell. This is portrayed really well. Usually Riddler holds himself together well, and you may find him even reasonable. But this moment breaks him, and you can see what's really inside of him. But this is almost the only scene with Riddler in the movie besides the small videos police finds. For the most part of the movie, Riddler does nothing. Even at the end of the movie, Batman just fights Riddler's minions, and there are no prominent villains at all. Riddler is also unknown to any of the other bad guys, so this leads to the point that all of the Batman's investigation was for nothing. Also, Riddler breaks his smart character with shooting Falcone in front of everybody. Why it was so necessary for him to do, I don't know, because he didn't have a problem with doing all the other killings in secrecy and just uploading videos of them. Also, he failed to kill Batman, and he doesn't respond to this fact in any way. He may actually not want to kill him because there is a letter for Batman at the Riddler's apartment, but this is not really clear what was Riddler's intention with Batman. Next, I would like to talk about the vibe of this movie. This is where this movie really shines. I think that this Batman really nailed it. Gotham is shown in a way that it really portrays what it should be: dark, crime-ridden, menacing and unpleasant place. Cinematography in this movie is absolutely breathtaking, especially the end of the chase scene where Batman goes out of the flames, or the scene at the end where he lights up a torch and rescues people. And there are more great scenes like this. These are just a few examples. Also, the music in my opinion is great. I really like the theme song Ave Maria. It suits gothic Gotham perfectly. I've heard complaints about the lack of blood and gore in this movie. I somewhat can agree with this. Although everything is dark and gloomy here, movie almost didn't show the blood. Only at the beginning with the cut off thumb there was a little blood shown. There are scenes where Batman hits bad guy's face really hard, but there is no blood at all. This is kind of unrealistic, but I personally don't really have a problem with this. The movie can deliver the dreadful feeling in other ways without directly showing anything. Now let's talk about the main thing, story, and this is where in my opinion this movie falls apart. Let's start at the good scenes. I really like the beginning where movie showed the fear Batman infuses in bad guys. The scene where the store thief looks up in the sky at the Batman logo, then almost gets hit by a car is simply brilliant. At this moment I was getting really excited about the movie. Also the fight with the street gang is great. The scenes which destroyed the feeling of this movie for me was where bomb around a bad guy's neck goes off and Batman just stands there doing nothing. This shows how unintuitive Batman can be with other people. Although you can argue that this suits his character, it's just really dumb thing to do. Like everyone can tell that the guy weren't going to tell anything. And after that he just wakes up at the police station and goes on like nothing happened, not even a scar on his face. After this you can't take this movie seriously anymore. But there is a second really dumb scene, where Batman jumps off the building and glides down with his special suit. All is fine until he hits a bridge. I understand that they wanted to show that Batman is just a human and can make mistakes, like in the fight with the street gang, but this is ridiculous. He hits the bridge hard and then again goes on like nothing even happened, another incredibly dumb and unnecessary scene. The pacing of the movie is also not very good, and I like slow movies actually, but in this one it feels like there is no purpose of the slow pace. All the detective stuff is not very interesting. Batman just solves it too quickly, and I understand that he is supposed to be a genius, but there should be some struggle, some mystery to make this interesting. But there it felt that it just drags on and on. I thought that there was some really brilliant concept of Batman's father being a bad guy, but it never really got explored. I think this is a great opportunity missed. Batman himself was a target of Riddler, because Riddler thought that Batman should pay for his father's sin, and indeed, Bruce's father hired Falcone to silence some journalist. This didn't go well, and the journalist was killed. Then the movie brushes this off like the father did it for the family, to not disturb the mother even more. It would have been much more interesting if he really done this for political reasons. Then Batman would have to face this drama of his father being a criminal. This idea had so much potential, but movie didn't really explore this. I already talked about this, but the Penguin chase scene was wasted on this character. This felt like the climax of the movie, like a big fight was going to happen, but it of course didn't, because Penguin wasn't that important. Then there are all the scenes connected to Riddler. I know that Batman of course is much more capable than the Gotham police, but let's be realistic. Police is shown like complete idiots here. If it were for real, the police would have searched Riddler's apartment all around, and they definitely would have found the plans about bombing the dam under the carpet. This is not hidden so well for only Batman to find. Also, they would have found most of the Riddler's minions. It's like police doesn't exist here, only Batman does the job. Shooting Falcone under the light while half the city is watching is also a dumb scene, because they did it only for Batman to catch Riddler. If this didn't happen, Batman wouldn't have caught Riddler. It all went according to Riddler's plan, and then he just basically gave himself in. If you really think about it, Riddler actually won in this movie because the dam was bombed. They tried to show Batman saving all the people from the Riddler's minions, but in real life much more people would have died from the flooding of the city. There was a big potential of showing all the destruction of the city because of this, but there were no great scenes regarding flooding, which is super important. And again, the police could have dealt with the terrorists, but I guess police here is completely incompetent. Batman's job was to save city from the flooding, but he failed at this. All the fights with the minions at the end of the movie also were not good, because they didn't really feel that important. The climax had already passed. Usually you pass the story so the ending has the biggest impact, the main fight, but it didn't feel right here. The street gang at the start of the movie had more personality than these terrorists here. You can feel that the movie drags at the end too. In my opinion, the end scenes with Catwoman were unnecessary. Bigger impact of the ending without changing the story would have been if it ended with Batman's torch scene. He could have had his inner monologue of fighting for the good in this dark place, while the movie would show him saving the people. This would have been an impactful scene, but in the real ending he is alone again. In the end, all these inconsistencies made me feel very conflicted about the movie. And again, I'm not saying that the movie is bad, it's just not nearly as good as the IMDb rating. I give this movie 7 out of 10. Thank you for watching.